All right, then welcome back. We are Arya Nagarjuna investigators, hot on the trail to solve the the conundrum. It is April 9th, 2025. Let's gather our minds here as we usually do. Bring your attention to your breath until you hear from me again, please. Now bring to mind that being who for you is a manifestation of ultimate love, ultimate compassion, ultimate wisdom, and see them there with you. They are gazing at you with their unconditional love for you, smiling at you with their holy great compassion. Their wisdom radiating from them, that beautiful golden glow encompassing you in its light. And then we hear them say, bring to mind someone you know who's hurting in some way. Feel how much you would like to be able to help them. Recognize how the worldly ways we try fall short. Wonderful it will be when we can also help them in some deep and ultimate way, a way through which they will go on to stop their distress forever. Deep down, we know this is possible. Understanding more and more about the marriage of karma and emptiness, we get glimpses into how it is possible, not just possible, but inevitable. And so I invite you to grow that wish into a longing. And that longing into an intention. And that intention even into a determination if you feel ready. Then turn your mind back to that precious holy being. We know that they know what we need to know, what we need to learn yet, what we need to do yet to become one who can help this other in this deep and ultimate way. And so we ask them, please teach us that. And they are so happy that we've asked. Of course, they agree. Our gratitude arises. We want to offer them something exquisite. And so we think of the perfect world they are teaching us how to create. We imagine we can hold it in our hands, and we offer it to them, following it with our promise to practice what they teach us, using our refuge prayer to make our promise. Here is the great earth, filled with fragrant incense and covered with the blanket of flowers. Great mountain, 4 lands, wearing the jewel of the sun and the moon. In my mind, I make them the paradise of a Buddha and offer it all to you. By this deed, may every living being experience the pure world. Idam Guru Ratna Mandala Kam Niryatayami. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest community, through the merit that we do in this investigation and the rest. May we reach Buddhahood for the sake of every living being. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest community, through the merit that we do in this investigation and the rest. May we reach Buddhahood for the sake of every living being. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest community, through the merit that I do and we do in sharing this investigation and the rest. May all beings reach their total awakening for the benefit of every single other. So we had said that during the week we would work with trying to figure out whether we are a doer there before we're doing. Like, am I there first and then I do stuff? Did anybody play with that?
I think for me, I tried a few times, and I see it as because I consciously or purposely wanted to find this. So when I wake up in the morning, then it struck me, oh, okay, now what do I do? Do I be a beer or a doer? So I think it's the consciousness we have in our mind that decide whether we are the beer or the doer. So for me, I sometimes I say, okay, I'm going to be a doer today. So I'm going to do this. Oh, no, okay, I'm going to be here today. So I whether which is first, I'm still not sure. But
Right.
it's just that my consciousness, I said it that way.
Right. But there's definitely an I, right? There's definitely a me.
Yeah. 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 Looking at it, I'm the one who determines.
Right. 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 I know. It seems like it should be so easy. because the I is just so prominent, constantly prominent. But then when we actually go trying to look at it, to find it, was it as prominent as we thought? Could you pin it down? There it is.
Julema,
Yes.
isn't it like, for example, this week I gardened for 3 days. Okay. So the seeds had to ripen for me to have the right climate,
Mhm.
because I don't do that during the whole year, right?
Mhm.
For me to be a gardener, for me to be a trimmer, for me to be a weed puller, I mean, to do all
Right,
those things, right?
right.
Like the
There has
time
to
and
be
the
leaders.
conditions
Mhm.
had to be there for
Right,
me to become a, a gardener, being a gardener, right?
right, right.
So also the conditions ripened for me to teach Dharma again.
Cool. Yay.
So it's like the time the seeds travel through certain process, through certain times, they ripened, and the conditions have to be there to be a doer, isn't it?
Yes, yes.
And what else?
And
What am I missing?
yeah, so you're not missing anything. The right, when we're trying to describe this in words, it's still conveying a a misunderstanding because of how we understand the words that you're saying, right? And then so like I would propose that Nagarjuna would go, right, the conditions have to be there. And then
Mhm.
when we say that, our gut feeling is there's a me here waiting for the conditions to be right for then me to become the gardener, which falls us back. We know we're trying to say it, we're trying to convey that what we mean is seeds ripen and now
Right.
I'm gardening, seeds ripening,
Yes.
me pulling weeds.
Right.
No, in my own mind, I think of that instead of separate words, me pulling weeds, subject, verb, object. I hyphenate it and try to think of it as all one thing. And it's like me pulling weeds happening, me, putting them in bags, me putting weeds in bags happening. That and I'm trying to get to where the subject side becomes less separate from the doing in the object. But then we would need to go to the same effort to see how the object is related to the verb, right? So that in each of these relationships where there's the relationship with me and the object, which goes through the verb, but then there's also the relationship with me and the verb, and suddenly the verb is the object, right? And I'm
But
considering the doing or the gardening, the pulling of the weeds, and I'm considering that. And then sooner or later, we get to investigating our relationship with our subject side. That's what we're working on in Mahamudra, is
right.
recognizing that, at every stage, there's still a me that's trying to figure out what we are and what's going on. So this text with Nagarjuna, which is focused on cause and effect, functioning, we go through a stage where, okay, understand selflessness, I think, but anything that does a function, it's got to be real. Is it the key to go in the ignition to turn the car? It's got to have a reality. The car has to have reality. And I agree, I understand it's unique to me, but, right, there is a car that is unique to me, right? And that evolves into mind-only school and lower middle way. So Nagarjuna is trying to help us peel away this insistence that for something to function, whether it's the thing or me, the thing that's functioning, that establishes that it has some uniqueness. It has some nature of its own, not self-existent. But so he's giving us these opportunities to look more deeply into this different, like, varieties of experiences that we have that are all opportunities for us to check, how is it that function happens? Yeah.
And
Yeah, go ahead.
And for example, working with the subject, the object, and the interaction, when we work with the emptiness, we're working with the emptiness of the subject, right? Trying to transform the object.
Well, depending on what your investigation is, right? You could be working with the emptiness of the doing. And like this book is going through all of that.
Okay.
Ultimately, we want to reach the doorway of the emptiness of the subject.
Right.
But that's implying that there's a subject that's independent of object and interaction there to find the emptiness of.
It can't be independent.
Right, it can't be independent. So like in some way, we're looking for the emptiness of something that doesn't even exist. Oh, gotcha.
Right.
Okay. A self-existent me. Is a self-existent me empty? No, because there's no such thing.
Right.
Is the me that's here dependent? It has to be empty of self-existence because it's dependent. Own nature and dependent nature are contradictory. But we don't really get that. So that we can still say, there's a me who is empty of self-existence. And so I depend on my seeds ripening. That would really be not accurately stated.
So that would be the hidden potential.
Right. Like the true nature of anything is I use the term profound dependence, that mutual arising, that shows us that it has no own nature, it has only appearing nature, and the appearing nature is results of imprints made.
Right.
So we keep going. You can see how the pendulum swings back and forth, trying to pin down appearances and the empty nature as if they are two separate things. But they can't be either. Right? You can't even talk about one without knowing the other. And his different chapters are showing us that. right? A cause isn't a cause until the result has happened. The result isn't a result without the cause. But at the time of the result, the cause is gone. And at the time of the cause, there is no result. So there is no cause till the result. And we go, that's like Dr. Seuss. It doesn't mean anything, but it means everything. Yeah. Yes,
Janet
Janet.
has her hand up.
Yes.
Thank you, dear Lemma.
So I'm coming from the standpoint of understanding things intellectually and then analyzing them. And I wanted to help a coworker who was really nice. At least when I saw her, I don't know how she really was, but she didn't have a nice home, or she didn't have what I thought you would get if you had seeds for kindness.
Yeah.
So if there really is no subject and there's no object, so there's no self and there's no object, there's just the interaction. I guess from what I just remember her kindness. So I don't remember the subject and object. I just remember her kindness.
Yeah.
And now she's not there anymore. And I'm having some compassion about why she's not there, because this industry that I'm in is not like the best industry. And my Ne Lama said to purify with Vajrasattva, spending a lot of time thinking about things that aren't important, like being petty almost.
Yeah.
And having to work really hard for low wages and survival. So I did that. And I guess, things happen. You are kind to people and things happen. And it's not necessarily going to be for this situation and this industry. You are not purifying a subject. You're just doing the quality of the interaction with the object and subject, but you're not doing it to purify the object, because there's no self and there's no object. You've just got that quality of the interaction. And if it is in the future, my Ne Lama says it might not be in this lifetime, but it actually might be in this lifetime. We just don't know yet.
Yeah.
So we don't have enough information to see how the quality of our interaction. She was kinder than me. And then I guess I have the opportunity. I quit Monday, but there's a staff meeting today. Do I go? And then when I go, am I nice? Do I answer honestly why I'm quitting? Master Shanti Davis said to be a bump on the log. How do I phrase that? No comment? Is that, saying no comment is not really being a bump on the log. So are these considerations on how you move forward within all this? She was a very nice lady, and she wasn't trying to purify this bad industry, and she's not here anymore.
Yeah.
And am I here or not? I'm here in the quality of my interaction.
Right.
And they are here. They really are here, coming from my own side, and myself is coming from my own side.
Yes.
But according to this book, it's the quality of the interaction that's really important.
Right.
And you can't not practice and say things don't exist. And you can't say, oh, I'm going to do this and things are going to, until you're omniscient, you just really don't know. And I don't think it's a huge problem as long as you have a good lama, like that connection with your guide. As your guide is everything in that case. You have to really trust that guide.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
you were talking in Mahamudra about the dream state, that waking state where you're between awake and asleep. And then the dream I had this morning was I was walking across the street singing the Joni Mitchell song, I'm a painter, I live in a box of paints. And this huge bus was coming down the street and it veered off to not hit me and it flipped over. So who knows? Maybe my quitting is just avoiding stuff, or maybe I'm going to have a buck accident where I veer over to protect someone else. But we just don't really know why things are happening and what's going on.
Exactly.
And maybe we don't need to know, actually. I don't know. I don't know. I have no idea. But if I understand things intellectually I understand that there's the self and the object coming from our mind that we name with names. And then there's the quality of the interaction. And on our level, we're working on the quality of the interaction, if there are even levels, because, you know, some people say there aren't levels, but if there are levels, because Arya Nagarjuna seems to think there are levels, we're supposed to work on the quality of the interaction.
Right. Become the gardener. Like the Johnny Appleseed gardener, you know, you just plant the seed and walk away. Plant the seed and walk away. Plant the seed and walk away. And it's like so counter to ignorant human life. It's hard to even conceive of what life would be like.
Yeah, I'm pulling the weeds off, dear Lama, or
Yeah,
whatever is there.
me too.
Yeah. You know, it's curious. I got up earlier today and I went through my email list and I had an invitation for a talk on April 27 from the Wisdom Publications. And I started reading what the talk was going to be about. And then I decided to just log in and see what new things they had. And I just read something from His Holiness the Dalai Lama. There's a book from here, and with big white letters, it says, the first experience of clear light occurs as a result of focusing your attention on the heart center of the dream body. And he goes through all the processes to do that. Sleeping, Dreaming, and Dying, that's his book. Have you read it?
I have not.
No?
Mm-mm.
Hmm. So I was going to ask you if I should read it. I know it's not Nagarjuna, but it's like how many things, you know, they go together. How the seeds ripened,
Right.
what we're talking about, and then doon, that.
Right. All right.
Let's continue on.
Let's continue on. Janet, you are at the top of my screen today. Will you do the opening through to Teenage Boy, please?
Here I have made a song for you on the very root of the middle way, which I call wisdom. In the language of India, this is called Prajna Nama Mula Madhyamaka Karika. In the language of Tibet, it is known as Uma Sewe Secular Jepa Sherab. In English, we call it Wisdom, a song on the root of the middle way. I bow down to Manjushri, the glorious gentle voice, in his guise as a teenage boy.
Thank you. Roxana, 1.1, please.
Thank you, dear Lama. I bow down to the highest of teachers, to the fully enlightened one, who teaches us to reach that peace where our fantasies about how things exist are put to a final rest. And definitely, I do bow down.
Me too. And Elsie, 1.2.
Thank you, Lama. I bow to the one who taught us that things happen in dependence. Nothing ends and nothing begins. Nothing stops, but nothing ever lasts forever. Nothing comes and nothing goes. No two things are different, nor are they two the same, nor are any two the same.
We're getting more familiar with those, aren't we? Joanna, can you read there?
Daniel, I want to read too. You go first.
Okay, Daniel, read for us, 1.3.
Nothing grows from itself, nothing grows from something else, nothing grows from both, and nothing grows without a cause. There is nothing at all that grows at all.
Not at all,
No, no, no.
I always have to say that to my own mind. Okay, don't watch. I'm going to scroll really fast.
Okay. You want to read too?
So we're doing our review, remember? And every time I start this, I go through the whole review and then we never get past 9.6. So we're going to jump right in to chapter 9, and it's escaping me what it is. An investigation of who might have been there before. Who might have been there before? Chapter 10 is going to be what comes first. But Nagarjuna is pointing out the curiosity of apparent cause-effect relationships to help us glimpse what Buddha meant by things happen in dependence, not independence. So we reach the point where our Kachik keeps saying, but I do so exist because I do stuff, right? I myself am a functioning thing. And so therefore, I have some existence of my own. And our Kachik says that because with each chapter where Nagarjuna is pointing out whatever the topic at hand is, he's pointing out, look, that can't have any nature, right? We know to impose the additional words saying it can't have any nature of its own. But Nagarjuna doesn't clarify like that. And he doesn't do it on purpose because he wants us to be able to rest in that things have no nature with this sense of, oh, finally, I understand. Whereas if we have to clarify, oh, no nature of their own, it means that subconsciously, when we hear something has no nature at all, we're automatically thinking they don't exist at all. So we make it softer on ourselves. Oh, yeah, okay, they don't have any nature of their own, which implies they have some nature, which they do. Their nature is that they are empty of any self-nature. But when we hear that, if they have no self-nature, how can they be anything? So without like going through that actual argument, Nagarjuna is knowing our mind is doing this. And so his verses go, from one way that our mind goes, what? And he addresses it. And then, we get a translation from Sanskrit into Tibetan into English. So, whether we're getting what he's really trying to mean, who knows? But we've been doing this great job trying to peel apart not what he means, but what we think he means, what we hear in the words. So this is our second or third time going through what we have so far. And so let's do it again from chapter 8. So I'm going to go back a little. An investigation of agents and actions. Who is it that does the starting the car. And he concluded with, that the doer, an agent, is created dependent on its action. The doer only becomes the doer when they are doing the thing. But an action as well comes about in dependence on nothing less than its agent. The doing of the thing doesn't happen until the doer is doing it. And aside from this, what else is there? We can see that no cause can establish either one of them. There's just the happening, as you are all pointing out. And then he goes on to say, and it's not just with agents and actions, it's like everything. Every interaction in any way is the same, because every interaction in any way has an agent and an action happening. And we've been going, yeah, okay, yeah, okay, yeah, okay. And then we get to this conclusion and we go, what? I have to be there first. And we start into chapter 9. So let's do chapter 9, and I'll keep my mouth shut until we get to 9.6 so we can pick up where we left off, okay? So who over there in Berlin would like to read 9.1 and 2?
We try to convince Tom. Come on, Tom, read one. No, okay, so I read. That was the
Okay.
Okay. Some say that the one who has looking or hearing or such, or feeling and the like, among others and those that relate, should be present prior to such objects. If the entity involved were not present, then how could there be a looking or the like? Thus, the entity involved should be present prior to these.
I have to be there before I see the car in order to see the car. Come on, Nagarjuna. All right. Siva, Luisa, let's go back up. Janet.
For what reason would we call what we do an entity involved, which were present prior to any looking or hearing or such, or feeling and the like?
Why do we say there's a me there before I'm looking? Well, this is a long one. Roxana.
Thank you. Suppose that, even in the absence of a looking and so on, this one could still be present. Wouldn't it then be true, beyond any shadow of a doubt, that even in their absence, those would have to exist? Isn't it some example which delineates someone? And isn't it someone which delineates some example? How could one exist without some particular? With some particular? How could there exist some particular with someone? Is not the case that one is present prior to all looking, and the rest, one of those other among looking and the like, is delineating upon occasions other than this?
Following? That's how far we got. Twice. Do you have to be there before you look up and see the car go by? I mean, in your gut, what do you say? Of course I was there. I was looking at the tree. And then I looked up and looked at the car. And then I looked over and looked at the building. There's a me. independent, and then I do that stuff. Like, what's the matter with that? What is the matter with that? I'm really asking, what's the matter with that? Like, that,
We'll be assuming that the doer exists first.
yeah, that I do exist first, independent of the doing, independent of the thing that's out there that makes me do whatever I do next. So we look up and see the car go by because the car going by made us, like, it caught our attention. And the me that was here first, the car makes me do that. And we go, no, it doesn't make me do it. It was just there. And then I did it. Nothing made me do it. And, Nagarjuna is going to say, come on, let's be precise here. Something makes everything happen, right? To say something to make means to create a cause, to do a function. We're talking about function here. And even just to shift from looking at the tree to looking at the car, that's a function happening, right? I've changed what I'm doing, me, independent, looking at that and then looking at this. You could do it for hearing. You could do it for smelling. You can do it for any.
Lamat, sorry.
Yes.
Does it count that, like, when there are times when we are looking for our, let's say, our car keys, and it was right there at the table by the door, but we'll be searching through, and we have passed by that area for so many times looking for it, and we never saw it.
Yeah.
Until that, it was here all along.
Right.
So how do we explain that? Or is it just that we did not have the seed before that? Then when the seed ripened, we managed to see it.
Right. Right. We have those kinds of experiences, don't we?
Yeah,
and
we
we
do.
just write them off as to some annoying factor. And then when we learn the Dharma, it's like, oh my gosh, we've experienced proofs of these things in our own lives, but we didn't stop to wonder about it. Sumati tells this story of, can't remember the details. He was in a rush, going to a flight or somewhere. He's in a rush. And he would always travel with a headlamp, and so he always puts the headlamp in the truck, and he gets in the truck to get to start it, and he goes, oh, where's my headlamp? And he looks in the spot it's supposed to be in, and it's not there. And he turns everything upside down, getting frantic because now he's going to be late. Never did find his headlamp. He goes and does his thing, comes back days later, gets in his truck, and there's the headlamp right in the place where it was supposed to be. And he uses it as a emptiness teaching, right? He didn't have the seeds to see that headlamp, so it wasn't there. And then he did have the seeds to see it, and then it was there. Was it there all along? Yeah, depends on what school you're in, right? Because you could say it was there, but he didn't have the seeds to see it. Or you could say, no, it wasn't there because he didn't have the seeds to see it. Yeah.
Dear Lama, may I share something? Once I offered to go water the plants of somebody who was on vacation. So I was given the house keys, and I would drive and go water the plants in the garden. So when these people arrived from their vacation, they said, didn't you notice the dead rat and the smell of it? You were passing right next to it every single day. I didn't have the seats to see it, Lama, or to even smell it.
Wow, yay.
I mean, I thought, oh my God, they must have thought that on purpose. I left it there. I
Yeah.
didn't say anything more,
Yeah.
but I thought, oh, so we
Mm,
don't have a fixed identity, right?
correct.
So if we don't have a fixed identity because we're changing, and our ego is trying to let us know it's the me that you're holding on, that you're clinging on, for you to think that you're something when you're constantly changing.
Right. But then if I'm constantly changing, why am I not Margaret the next moment and Tom the next moment and a rabbit the next moment? Like there's a Sarani that's changing. And I think, okay, I've got it, but I still insist on saying there's a Sarani that's changing, which means I'm still holding to something in the wrong way. Why am I not in that changing? Like
You're
what?
getting there, Lama. You're purifying your foundation consciousness. And then after that, your seventh consciousness.
Right, every moment,
Every moment. Yes.
every moment.
That doesn't mean that you're gonna be there. Right?
But if I'm not there,
You can play and say you're there.
right,
Why not?
right. It's not the case that one is present before we're doing what we're doing, right? Because we're always doing something, aren't we? Even when we're doing nothing, we're doing nothing, if you could say that. And you don't be there and then suddenly start to do something. We did a whole chapter in starting, staying, stopping, which is sort of what launched all of this. To be starting the car, I have to go from the non-car starter to the car starter, and there has to be a first moment of car starter, but that in that first moment, the car hasn't started yet. So I'm really not the car starter yet. And then when we try to pin down exactly when it happened, you can always make it smaller. And yet if you get stalled in that, you'll never get to your appointment, right? Because it's like you'll wait. And so we can just get in the car, turn it on and go. It's not the case that we're present before we do anything. One of those other among looking and the like is delineated upon occasions other than this. I don't know what that means. We become delineated as the gardener when we are gardening.
Could it be that our changing is seamless, just like the water flowing from a tap or flowing through the river? So that the happening is in such that we would not be able to catch the moment when I think we change. We only realized it after we change.
Yeah, good point. And that seamlessness would be because, oh, I had a glimpse. The stream of similar seeds, right? The stream of seeds that are coming out one after the other, 65 per instant, one after another. Each one has a subject side. And when we planted those seeds, the subject is changing, but always the subject.
Right.
So even if my personal experience, it would be now the subject side is Joe, and now the subject side is Rabbit, and now the subject side is, Margaret, it would still be perceived by that being as subject side. So there's continuity as subject side, no matter how subject side is then identified. Because subject's always subject. There'll always be a subject. Which
Unless
is
there's
actually
an
why nobody can take anybody's karma.
Mm.
Because karma is made by the subject side.
unless there's an interaction with another.
Right? That's what makes it the subject side.
Mm.
Because without an object, there can't be a subject. Right? There can't be one thing without there being two things. Because you couldn't establish a one, could you? Without an other to establish, right? The Tao Te Ching
Yeah.
says, out of the all comes the one, but because there's one, there's two. And because there's two, there's three. This one, that one, and the interaction between. And once there's that, myriad of things. Right? It's saying the same thing about dependent origination.
Actions and results, right, dear Lama?
Right, exactly. Causes and results, of which there's no such relationship, says Arya Nagarjuna. He's not saying there's no such relationship. He's saying it's not the relationships that we think. So Janet had her hand, no, Joanna had her hand up a long time ago. Sorry to ignore you. I wasn't ignoring.
Yeah,
Speak loud.
as you were talking, I just had a question or was wondering if we need to have this awareness of ourselves as the subject and others as the object and so on to be in this stream of just our experience, then what happens when we are in a coma or deep sleep or just knocked out? I find it very curious because I mean, I don't know, but it feels like so with the pen thing, if the dogs and the pen leave the room, then there is actually no table or anything there. As soon as we open the door, then the whole room comes into existence, right? So to say. And as long as we are outside of the room, we have a mental picture of there is a room and a table and some cylinder in it. And I feel like if that's according to middle way the case, or maybe it's not and I'm wrong, but that's just my thinking, then shouldn't that be also the case when we go to sleep, that everything disappears, and when we wake up, everything comes again out of our seats, including ourselves as the subject? Because when I'm sleeping and don't remember my dreams or even the deep dreamless sleep, then I don't feel like I existed in that period of time, and I don't have a sense of time how long it was. So if I wouldn't have a clock to measure, it's just so fascinating to me. Like if we stick to the same logic of the pen teaching to our daily cycle of circadian rhythm and sleeping and waking up, I feel like something is fishy there.
Right. So When you said when all the dogs and all the people go away, the pen and the table, did you use the word disappear? That they,
Yeah,
there's nothing there.
because shouldn't the object be connected to the subject that's looking at the object?
Right, right. But there's a difference in what we hear between when we say, when nobody's there perceiving anything, that means there's nothing there. There's a difference between that and saying what's there when nobody's perceiving, and you go, well, you just can't say. You can't say nothing's there. And you can't say something's there until, right? You have the perception of what's delineated.
Oh.
So it's not, oh, there's nothing there when nobody's perceiving. It's undifferentiated, right? Words fail. So when we are in that state of deep sleep, knocked unconscious or dead, the experience seems like there's nothing, but it's again this place.
Who knows?
Right? It's to go into deep sleep consciously, which is kind of an oxymoron, but it's possible. You would experience your own true nature, which is the undelineated all possibility to be whatever is ripening, and that too would be a ripening of subject-object interaction between. Right? It's just on such a subtle level that our relation to it happening isn't there. Right? So there's never not subject-object interaction happening, ever. It's impossible. But how it's interpreted, what the experience is, can get so subtle. And the teachings are about our identity is so trapped in the subject side. So here's subject side and here's everything else. And that's the ignorance. When our ignorance goes away, it doesn't mean our subject side goes away. It means our identity expands to include subject-object interaction between.
Wow.
Still be a subject side. Buddhas still have subject side, but their identity is all.
Same as mom.
Yes, Janet.
I don't know if this relates, but ACI 14, there's this whole teaching on POA, and it's not a coma. It's not when you're still alive, but it's the last stage of death. And it's a natural state of emptiness. So it's one of those death teachings where if you're at the last stages of death, you naturally experience that natural emptiness anyway.
Right.
But if you're aware of it, then it's kind of nice that you're aware of oh, this is, you know, I have no subject, there's no object, and then there's emptiness. So I guess in that case where people are out of it and on their in the last stages of death, the POA, there is a teaching in there somewhere. ACI 14. But I don't know if it's related to Daniel's question and related to all this. It's just it seems like there's teachings everywhere. You know, you kind of stumble around them. And then when you do a little review, so maybe if Daniel pays attention, it'll come up again.
Nice. So back to chapter 9. We're still trying, like our Kachik is clinging to no, I have to be there in order to do the things that I do, right? I still relate to that. And Nagarjuna is saying, he's so patient. Let's look. for that me that's there first. Right? And it's like, we're going to finish chapter 9 and chapter 10, he's going to do it all over again. Because our Kachika is going to say, yeah, but. So let's see if maybe this time chapter 9, Kachik will say, got it, Nagarjuna, let's go to the beach and have a picnic. Who hasn't read yet who'd like to read? I'll see.
Right. This one, Lama?
Yeah, it's long, suppose.
Okay. Suppose there were none present prior to all the acts of looking and the rest. How then could there be that one present prior to each of the acts of looking and the rest individually? And suppose that the very same person looking could also be the one listening, as well as the exact same one doing the feeling.
Follow
It
it?
would
Go on.
okay. It would be incorrect in that case to say they could be present prior to the individual acts. Suppose that the one looking could really be other and the one listening other, or the one feeling other. When they existed as the one looking, they would have to exist as the listening, as a personality that was nonetheless a whole variety.
Let's see if that's the end. I'm not sure. Yes, it is.
But it's true, isn't it? When we see, we listen, we also feel or react. It's everything like a potpourri of things happening at that one moment.
So you're saying you do experience it all at once.
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes, I mean, it would be like instantaneously. You see, then sometimes when it's something either happy or sad, you look and it's continuous. But I can't really pinpoint that this is then after this and after this, but it looks like it's a potpourri of things happening at that one moment.
So you're saying you can be the seer and the listener and the feeler and the emoter all at the same time.
Yeah, it does happens, I think.
Are you permanent and non-changing, Elsie?
No, there will be some point where something changes and like it's not really permanent, as you put it. So
they
his
all
change
change at the same time. So they all change at the same time.
Do they all change at the same time? But there is, for a period of time, there will be changes that happen. It's like I see something, like I see somebody I like. The moment my eyes set on this person, I feel so happy.
Right.
I'll be listening to what he's saying or she's saying.
Right.
And then after that, then the interaction would be different.
Okay. So Elsie is saying that things happens all at once sequentially. So contradictory. It's either all at once or it's sequential. Which one?
Okay. Let's
And either way, don't you have to be there first?
yeah, looking at it, I have to be there first.
I know, me too. Darshan is saying,
No.
what do I have to do to get through to you? But suppose there's none. Suppose you're not there before all that's happening. Then what?
I think I would experience the activities that's happening when I have the awareness that it's happening.
Right.
If I could be there and I could be just like a bum on a rock,
Right.
and things could be going around me and I don't feel anything.
Which is technically true all the time, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like whatever my awareness is right now, it's unique to me.
Mm-hmm. True.
And you're all in it. You are all a part of it. But for each of you, your experience right now is unique to you. It's clearly different than mine. We're all here doing the same thing together, and we're all having unique experiences. And there are other beings around us who are here too. But, right, what we're doing is completely out of their plane of awareness. And which one's real? Like all of them and none of them, right? They're not real in the way we think. If we're not Buddhas, they are happening. And so they are real. And so this thing, right, is both a pen and a chew toy. Well, wait, one thing can't have two different identities. Well, yes, it can if it's got two perceivers. It could have thousands of identities if it's got thousands of perceivers. And if it has no perceiver, it has no identity. But it doesn't disappear. Same for our me. It's dependent upon what it's doing to be established as a me. It's impossible to perceive a me without doing something, because even at the most subtle level, what you're doing is perceiving me. So suddenly your me is your subject side perceiving your me as the object side. Oh, wait a minute. So which one am I? Subject or object? That's the critical gateway in the Mahamudra practice, is when you get to the point where you're actually looking at the appearing nature of your mind and you recognize, how can that be a me and the object of my meditation at the same moment? Doorway into its emptiness. To try to catch this difference between subject and object. We're thinking they're in the thing, but they are not. They are experiencing happening, right? Words fail. So
Because it's like an illusion, right, Lama?
what's like an illusion in the way that we see water in the desert and then we
Right.
go, oh, it's a mirage. The mirage is there, the water is not. It's like illusion in that way.
Right.
Not illusion like I thought there was something there, but then it's not really. Do you see the difference?
Could you repeat that again, please?
The illusion, when we say something's like an illusion, if we don't understand illusion, we'll think, oh, it's just illusory that it's there, but it's not really there. But illusion, more accurately, is the illusion like I see water in the desert, and then I realize, oh, it's not water, it's a mirage. The mirage is there, the water was not. The
Okay.
water was never there. The mirage was always there. It's a case of mistaken identity, not present versus not present. When we talk
Thank you.
about illusion from higher way.
Geshe says always our seventh consciousness is the one that gets us in trouble. So my understanding is that the ego makes us believe like an illusion. You are this, you are that, you have this, you have that.
Right.
You like this, you like that. So that's what I meant with, we have this idea that we cling to the self because we do not understand the concept of the three spheres basically, and that we cling. That's when we get the attachment
Right.
of I am this, I am that, I deserve this, I am
Right.
better than somebody else, I am worse than somebody else. I don't know.
Right.
It's
We're insisting that there's water out in the desert.
right, right,
We're insisting there's a me here first,
correct,
that things happen to, that I do, right, react to.
right.
When there's no water, but there is the mirage. Right, there is my subject side constantly changing moment by moment by moment.
And
But
Geshe says,
oh,
until we get that clear,
right,
that's when our world's going to start changing. I mean,
right,
our
right.
seeds are going to ripen differently.
right. We have this really concrete belief about our identity. And within that belief about our identity, oh, I can't get the words. It's an obstacle to the very changes in perceptions about ourselves that we profess to want to bring about. As long as we're holding on to I am me and I am like this, we're not relating to our all potentiality nature, our empty nature. We're relating to some solid, right? It's not solid. You know what I'm trying to say? I will have a belief that I am like this. And then I
Yep.
have to change being like this in order to become a holy being. As long as we have this, my identity is like this, we will never become holy beings.
Right.
Because that being is going to come out of the emptiness of this. So we're trying to get our identity to be with our no self nature. But just to hear myself say that, my mind goes, no self nature, no me at all. That's ridiculous. Here I am. Right. And so it very rejects the very space from which I need to be living in order to make the transformation of my world that I want to make. Right? We can't change worlds that have their own natures in them. We can't change a me that has my own nature in me as much as we want to.
Yeah, but that's what Nagarjuna is all about, dear Lama.
It
We're
is.
trying to
It is.
deconstruct
Exactly.
what we've constructed with solid cement during so many
Exactly.
lives.
Right. 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 Coloring every single seed that's in that refrigerator.
Right. So that's why we must study Nagarjuna and we must make the effort
Right,
to get it intellectually, as Janet says.
right. And I love this playing with it, right? Exploring it, trying to figure out what's he saying. And then we talk about it for a while and then we read the verse and it's like, oh my gosh, like that's what we just said. Like we're getting
No.
there.
This is the best time invested.
Yeah.
And I love it when we go back and we repeat it and we analyze it again, because it's the only way to deconstruct
Yeah,
well, at least our misunderstandings, or planting the seeds
right.
for that wisdom.
Yeah. Yes,
Thank you,
Janet, you're
dear Emma.
fine.
I mean, Lama Sarani's going off the commentaries too, and I guess I am sort of, but there's a whole bunch of commentaries.
Yes, there are.
There's Shankirti, there's Jason Kappa, there's Buddha Palat, Palesh.
Padita.
I mean, there's all different ways to look at this one teaching, and I guess
Absolutely.
maybe that's the point that Arya Nagarjuna is saying. There isn't one way to look at what he's saying. There's
Yeah.
different takes on it, and I don't know. I mean, do you find the one that works for you? Do you have the different ones so you could help your students? Do you have the different ones so that you explode your brain and you don't think of things in one way? I'm not sure like why things are this way. Why does it have to be so complicated? Like from an autistic point of view, can't you just say what's going on? I know
Yeah.
we need to have seeds to receive it. I get that. But isn't there just one answer? And if there is just one truth, there should be just one answer. And that answer should be that we all have an empty inherent nature. But somehow we can't seem to just go there. It doesn't
Right,
seem
right,
like
right.
that's the way to go there.
Very astute. Because when we say the words, that one truth is we're all empty in self-nature, we all understand that in a different way. And until we experience it directly for ourselves, we misunderstand it. And that's why there's all these different angles. Think of it this way. Think of it this way. But you're absolutely right. I was sharing the teachings on Naropa and what he had to do, the trials that he went under his teacher Talopa, and they are awful. And finally, what turns out to be the last one is that like with every one of his trials in between, Talopa goes into samadhi meditation for a whole year. And Naropa is begging him for teachings and making offerings to him, and just, please teach me, please teach me, please teach me. And then Talopa's eyes pop open and Naropa goes, please teach me. And he goes, okay. And they go out and they do this stuff that Naropa ends up just making big, terrible mistakes. And then he gets a teaching out of it. So this very last one, why am I even talking about this? It's like Talopa is that the two of them are walking through this and it's been 12 years of this. And Talopa's like casually walking along the desert and Naropa's like running as fast as he can to keep up with his teacher. And, he falls behind and finally he's exhausted and he's falling face down in the dirt and he hollers, Lama, can't you please just give me the teaching that will fix this all for me, like once and for all, please? And Talopa looks at him and he goes, oh, is that what like after 12 years of begging for teachings, it's like Talopa's pretending, now you're asking for the right thing. And it's pretty interesting because what Talopa says is, to get that teaching, you need to offer me a mandala. And then there's more to the story I can't tell you. But it's like there is that teaching, Janet. there is the one final truth, but who's it coming from? Us. Us. So is it one final truth? Because if it's coming from me, it could be different than the one that will be coming from you. Even if the teacher is the same. Apparently the same. Do you see? So let's have fun trying to explore all of this so that each of us can get that one truth final teaching. Especially Janet, because she brought it up. Thank you very much. You get to be the first, Janet. You know, we blabbed right through our break. Do you need a break?
Yes, please. I need to get
Okay, I'll
some
stop
coffee.
there. Yeah. I'll pause the recording.
Okay,
I'll
tutup
say
na.
happy birthday to Sabah. So this string of verses seems to be saying that we can't not be there before we experience things. And then if we're there and we're experiencing all of those things at once, then something would have to happen to make you then experience any one of those things individually. Like if we say, I experience seeing, fearing, healing all at the same time, but then that would mean you couldn't just see something or just hear something. You would have to hear and see something, but you can't see sound, you can only hear it. So he's saying, yes, we're describing our experience. I do multiple things at once. He says it can't really be like that. It has to be sequential because it's different to be the seer than it is to be the hearer. Those are different functions. They're different doings.
And
So
different
you can't-
consciousness too, dear Lama.
Right. And that's what he says. The seeing and the seeing consciousness, right? The color and shape, and then the consciousness that makes it into what it is. That you can't have it both ways. You can't be doing it all and then do it separately. But then you really aren't doing it separately either, because while we're hearing, right? It doesn't mean while you're seeing, you can't hear anything at all. And then we say, yeah, because my me is attending to what I'm seeing, and then my me is attending to what I'm hearing, and then my me is attending, right? And then it's like, right, that's the me we're trying to establish. The me that does this, and then the me that does that, and then the me that does this. Does it do that? Is it there first? And then something triggers it to go to what it sees? Or is that there's something outside that triggers that? Or is there something in it that triggers that? Or is there something in the two of them together that triggers that? Like none of those possibilities really can work, can they? And yet we have the experience. I see something, then I attend to listening to something, and then. Right, so let's see where he's going to go. I'd really like to finish chapter 9.
Why, Lama?
Yeah, why? Because chapter 10's so fun.
This is also fun. I'm enjoying it. I'm just trying right now. I just tasted my coffee
Yeah.
And I thought, is my listening tasting my coffee? No.
Oh, my tasting is tasting the coffee.
Right. So that's the answer, you know. They're different consciousness and they're there for different purposes, but we're not aware of, well,
Right. And so is the consciousness you, or is there a you that has those consciousnesses?
it's, I mean, there's a being with a consciousness, right?
Oh, is there?
Oh,
Who is it that sees and hears and feels and all the rest?
I guess we exist by names, Lama.
Yeah. But that doesn't feel very real. I'm just a word.
I mean, it's like the foundation consciousness. You have to give it a name, right? It's
talk
not
about
like
it.
a real refrigerator that's out there.
Right. Or
Full
even
of,
in here.
yeah. We
Who
exist in
is it?
name only.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to say. We need to convey in certain language to get across and to get our ideas a little bit more straightened out.
I know, but do you really relate to that term? I exist in name only. Every time I hear that, I always go,
I don't say
right?
it often, to be honest.
Yeah.
But when right now that I just express it, when I said it, it had a differentiation and connotation to
Good.
probably, if Mario would listen to me or the girls, they would
Yeah.
say, what's wrong with my mom now? Now
Right.
what she's up to? You know?
Really. She thinks she's rocks and she thinks she's
Right.
who is it that sees and hears and feels and all the rest? And without that one, the rest of them could never be.
So
But without the rest of them, neither is the one.
that's the importance of planting seeds, Lama, for the rest to exist and to turn our world around.
Exactly. Exactly.
So I was thinking right now, and I don't know why it came across like I'm the coffee maker, but I can also be the maker of light.
Yes,
As simple as that.
could be.
It could be
Exactly. Maker of happiness.
maker of happiness,
Maker
maker of,
maker of, right? Maker of anything.
yes,
Technically all at the same time. That's your emanation being.
right, right. That's what I was thinking.
Right.
Right now that we're talking about the eight consciousness, I go, and I was trying to figure it out in my mind, just like an image,
Yeah.
how all those spheres would play
Right.
as an emanation.
Right. Right. You know, they say those four bodies of a Buddha, and then they try to describe, it's not really different bodies, but it's parts, but it's not really different parts. It's not, right. And from my own trying to grapple with it, I would describe them to myself as the paradise being, like not a being, not like a being, but being the verb. So there's one, there will be our paradise being, and there will be our omniscience being, right? That paradise being will be also being omniscient, not a thing that is omniscient, but being, omniscience being. And there will also be the emanations being. And then the Dharmakaya being the emptiness of all of it, of course. I don't know, to me, just instead of saying a paradise body, I say paradise being, and it helps me. It helps my feeling of what I'm trying to describe to myself seem to be a little more accurate. I guess. Just playing with the words helps me reframe, I guess.
It's wonderful that you're playing with the words. Personally, I'm trying to understand what the words mean.
Right. Right.
It's a whole process, dear Lama.
It is, and it's a level of awareness of like hearing a word from somebody else or your own, and being able to be aware of what your like immediate reaction or belief in what that is meaning, to be
Yes.
able to catch that and then recognize, oh, that understanding means I'm have this belief. I mean, it's not so much in mental words at that point, it's just someone says something and I get this feeling of how I'm misunderstanding it because of my ignorance. And then that helps me to recognize my ignorance. And then I
But
can go, oh, without that.
you know, we're so blessed to have you, dear Lama, because for example, if I didn't have you and I wouldn't have the opportunity to ask, then things would be so different. Like for example, yesterday, then I thought, oh, those are the winds moving. How could you didn't think of that?
Right.
So I
Right.
would have stayed with a sensation,
Yeah.
but now I understand more thanks to you.
Right. And even that explanation, it is the explanation, but it doesn't have its inherent nature either, right? There will come a day when you'll understand that thing about the winds in a deeper way. Right. Meanwhile, how we understand it serves us to be able to get deeper. Same with our words, right? They did that to me serves us. We react to stay safe. That serves us. But it serves to keep us perpetuating in a broken world. And that's why we're studying. Right?
Lama, the emanation bodies is it I mean the understanding of the emanation body, is it that what created this um how do I put that, the because there are certain beliefs by a lot of people that there are doppelgangers.
Okay.
So would it be quite, I mean, would their understanding of the emanation body be related to this? I mean, because they always say, oh, there's 7 different yous all over the world.
Oh, I see. Mm. My understanding of Buddha's emanation bodies is that the compassion with which they were able to remove their obstacles to omniscience, compassion and love manifests. And it manifests, let's just say it manifests. And then any being who has the karmic seeds will experience that manifestation, whether they know it's a Buddha's manifestation or not, and they will experience it unique to their seeds ripening. So, they describe it as saying a Buddha emanates exactly what everybody needs to help them reach their ultimate happiness. And they leave it at that. But as we start to explore, from the perspective of, are there emanations coming to me? And then from the perspective of what's my emanation being going to be like, and what am I going to do? At one level, it's like, oh, I'm going to be the person who shows up to hug the little kid who's crying on the playground. I'm going to be the nurse that does, right, brings comfort to the patient. I'm going to be the medicine for the patient that works for them. I'm going to be, right, I'm going to be all these concrete things that I, in a sense, am establishing what I look like for them. And it's like, that's lovely. It's a nice fantasy. But as I, get to really trying to think about it, it's like, that can't be right. The compassion shows up, and everybody experiencing whatever they're experiencing, right? From the Buddhist side, it's compassion and love for everything and everybody that perpetuates their Buddhahood. And for the everybody, who knows what it looks like? And then as our seeds get better and better, maybe we have an experience of somebody, showing up at just the right time, being especially kind, and we might go, oh, an angel, right? Which would be, oh, a Buddha emanation for me. But then couldn't that emanation also be that one who, I don't know, the drunk driver who smashes your car, that wakes you up to wrong reality and starts you on your path to your end of all suffering? Couldn't that also be a Buddha emanation, right? Doesn't their love do exactly what we need? That spiritual revisionism that we've talked about before. They hurt me so bad. They can't be a Buddha. No? Yeah, it's hard. You don't go there with new people, right? Who wants to be told the person who hurt you the worst is your Buddha angel helping you? It's like, no way. Although someday we'll be asking for that. So I don't know why I went there. You were saying our doppelgangers like emanations. I think it's like, if we identified as all those different beings, like if we could be in multiple places at one time and aware of it, that might be more similar to emanations than just somebody who looks just like you. Yeah. So this last verse, whether it comes before or after at the same time. Whether it comes before or after at the same time as the seeing and such. It simply cannot be. So give up all these fantasies that claim they do or don't exist. So he's so vague, right? His verses are so exquisitely written that, as Janet said, right, we can go through it again and again and again and hear something different every time. Because this could be talking about the seeing, hearing, etc., whether or not that's there before or after. Or we could be talking about the one who's doing that, or we could be talking about the doing of it. The three spheres. We could go through chapter 9, looking at it from subject side, looking at it from object side, looking at it from function side. And his point is, we will find the same conundrum. The thing we think is there first, that establishes the identity, cannot be there before the identity is established. And the identity can't be established until the thing is there. So something else is going on. We know the punchline. Seeds ripening, seeds ripening, seeds ripening. But even that, we're misunderstanding. because we could do chapter 9 for the seeds ripening, and I think there is a chapter in the future about karma.
So based on the 65 seeds per second,
Mhm.
seeds ripen because it's simultaneous. So the seeds that ripen are the seeds that created me, created the listening, the seeing is
Right,
boom, one shot.
right, right. Zhi, 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 which is why I like this mudra, right? Zing, zing, zing,
I was going
zing.
to ask you to do it, your lama.
Right.
And it's so interesting because I do understand it as you do it. That's how I understood it.
Yeah, good.
Jun, jun.
Jin, jin, jin. And then even as I'm getting that sense of that, I can still feel this part of me that's going, no, it can't be. There has to be a me that's doing it, and it's like, no, my dear. Right? And it just like sort of flips out a little bit when it would be so refreshing to have that identity of this constant, unlimited, vast, shape-shifting everything. All-inclusive being.
I believe that if you can express it, you can be it.
Yeah, you're close. Yeah, good. So keep trying. Give up all those fantasies that claim they do or don't exist. Well, what else is there than existing or not existing? Yes, Janet.
I mean, in some ways, with at least with ACI 14, they exist as tools in order to get more seeds so that you can receive more teachings or create a teaching world.
Yes.
So they don't really exist. They exist because they're tools for Lojong, they're tools you can use
Right.
to either clean yourself up or have some seeds. And the reason you do that is so that when you get a teaching, you can understand it maybe in more than one way.
Yeah, nice.
So one of the answers is they don't really exist in and of themselves. They exist as a tool that you can use to
Right.
practice. And the reason that you would practice is to change your life.
Yes. Nice.
But you don't exist, so why are you changing your life?
Yeah.
So the whole thing is
Exactly. What is that fourfold phrase? It's things don't exist in the way that we think they do, but it's not that they don't exist at all. Things do exist merely labeled, and it's not that they exist in the way we think, right? From their own side. So they both do and don't exist. But even when we say, okay, they do exist as a seed ripening, again, when we get into the subtlety of Nagarjuna, I think he's going to take us to, well, at which moment do they exist as a ripening? Right? 65 per instant. We're still going to hold to, well, in that 65th of an instant, the appearing me is the real me. I do exist in that way. And the problem with that is until we've directly experienced what we mean by I do exist, we will misunderstand what we mean by I do exist. And he wants us to struggle with that so that we lessen the power of our ignorance about me as we replant it. So even as we say, I understand that I do exist as a mental image ripening and I don't exist as a being from my own side. When I say I do exist as a mental seed ripening, my seed subconscious is hearing do exist and going, yeah, see, so I am here. As opposed to the more accurate reaction of, oh, wow, like the all potentiality being, without then holding that as a one thing that I really am. Oh, I'm just the all potential. Do you see that's wrong too? Language makes us nuts, doesn't it, Janet? Here ends the 9th chapter, Wisdom. An investigation of who might have been there before. Did we find a conclusion?
I'm trying
It's
to,
coming.
but when I get there, the seeds had already.
I know they're gone already, right? By
Yeah.
the time we get there, the seeds are gone.
Yeah.
Me too.
So that's my conclusion.
Good. By the time I find my me, it's gone.
Right.
Good, good, good. Yes, Janet.
It's coming from our own side until we have enough seeds where we won't. But right now, it's good to be focused that it's coming from our own side. Because you said object, focus, and intensity. And so I don't need to go to where it's not coming from our own side anymore. I could just simply focus on that it's coming from our own side.
Yeah, good. That's good. That's that teaching, start from where you are, right? We're never anywhere else anyway. So now, from chapter 9 to chapter 10, let our Kachik speak up. We've been going through the different chapters. It was the liking and wanting, right? Desire and the one who wants. And Nagarjuna says, that has no nature. And then we go, yes, I do, because I have the me, and those things that I experience, they cause the desire in me. That causes this. And then we looked at that, whether another thing can cause something. And then he said, see, you can't really pinpoint the moment or the place where they touch. And then we no, but Buddha said there's a me that exists. And I think it had to do with the heaps, right? I do exist because I have the heaps because Buddha said so. And we investigated the heaps that we think we have. And then we said, yeah, but that can't be right, because I do so have a body of form and it's made up of elements. And Buddha taught that. And then Nagarjuna said, well, let's look at those elements. But then he looks at the element of space, remember? And the conclusion of that chapter was the me with the form body can't be happening in the way that we think. And then and I think that was chapter 7. I'm forgetting now already what chapter 8 was. We were zeroing in on the me subject side. But when we're holding to the me subject side, it means we're also holding to an individual existence of the object. And we're holding to an individual existence of the function between the two of them. And that's where this chapter 9 came in. is, let's look at that relationship between subject, object, and interaction between. Look at the function. Because we are establishing, because I function, I have some nature of my own. That's the level of person he's talking to. He's not really talking to people who believe in total self-existence. It's like he's talking to us at mind-only level, functionist school. So he keeps saying, it can't be happening in the way we think. And here's another one, this chapter 9. So what's Kachik's reaction? He says, because you can't have a seer seeing something either all at the same time or moment by moment. You know, I'm because I know what chapter 10 is. 10 is another what comes first, but it's that whole chapter about fire and firewood, if you remember. And so where Kachik must go is no, I have to be there before my seeing happens. Because in order to have a relationship, there has to be two existing things. Right? I think our Kachik gets pretty sophisticated here. In order for me to experience seeing, there has to be a thing called me and a thing to be seen and a thing called seeing for those three things to have a relationship, right? Non-existent things can't relate to each other. Arya Nagarjuna. So somewhere in there has to be existence happening in order for these three subject-object interaction to happen. And then chapter 10 will be his response. And that's where we shifted from Geshe Michael's translations to Lama Christie's. And now Geshe-la's translating Jetsun Kappa's Sea of Wisdom, which he's only just gotten to the point where Jetsun Kappa is actually talking about the verses. And it isn't clear to me whether in Jetsun Kappa's text, he gives each of Nagarjuna's root text verses separately versus in the text of explanation. So I'm hoping that Sea of Wisdom text will evolve to where we will have access to translated, Geshe Michael translated root text verses that we'll shift to using his Sea of Wisdom as it comes out to help guide our investigation. But it's only just getting going. I mean, like we have a couple hundred pages, but it's talking about the title and the lineage and so forth. Okay, so wait. This is the wrong one. No, here it is. I need to move you. There, see it? So Janet, will you read for us, please, 10.1? We have only 1 minute, but I want us to start into chapter 10, okay? Please.
If the firewood was the fire, doer and deed would. If the fire was separate from the fuel, it could happen without the fuel.
All right, so our task, actually we're off until May. So sorry, I said I wouldn't do that to you, but I'm doing it. Our task is to think about our conclusion from chapter 9. There is a me doing something, but not independent of the doing of the something. And when I am doing this, I'm this doer, and when I'm doing that, I'm that doer. And there's no moment between this doing and that doing where I'm never not doing. So there's always the me doer doing and no other me than that. And our Kachik must say, no, in order for doer doing to be happening, there has to be those three things existing. And chapter 10 is going to look at how can there be those three things existing before their interrelationship is happening. Got it? So yay, we're into chapter 10. And remember that being we wanted to be able to help at the beginning of class? We have already started the end of their misunderstanding, the end of their suffering. And that's a great, great goodness. So please be happy with yourself. Just the effort to understand a little more clearly, a little more deeply is a great, great goodness. And think of this goodness like a beautiful glowing gemstone you can hold in your hands. Recall your own precious holy being. See how happy they are with you. Feel your gratitude to them, your reliance upon them. Ask them to please stay close, to continue to guide you, help you, inspire you. And then offer them this gemstone of goodness. See them accept it and bless it. And they carry it with them right back into your heart. See them there, feel them there. That love, that compassion, that wisdom. It feels so good, we want to keep it forever. And so we know to share it by the power of the goodness that we've just done. May all beings complete the collection of merit and wisdom, and thus gain the two ultimate bodies that merit and wisdom make. So use those 3 long exhales to share this goodness with that one being. To share it with everyone you love. To share it with every existing being everywhere. See them all filled with happiness, filled with loving kindness. And may it be so. All right. Thank you so very much. That was fun. I'm
Thank you,
stopping
dear
the
Holy
recording.
Lama. May you enjoy all your guests.